Hey then fam! So, I'm having to use the microphone in my controller because my new microphone has died. What is this with my new microphones? Am I cursed? Who knows? Maybe I just need to spend money when I eventually get some money on a really good microphone, because apparently buying an X-Star microphone, it wasn't cutting it, because I was occasionally getting that whistling sound at the bottom. Anyway, let's get to the matter at hand, shall we? So, there's been a bit of chatter of the day on Twitter and such like, and I've read a couple of articles, and it looks like Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, have decided they want to try and shoehorn adverts into your games and my games. This will not stand. Ooh, no. We can't let this stand. We mustn't let this stand. Because, okay, you paid money for your games. Whether it be 20 quid or 70 quid, you paid for that video game. I mean, like, if you pay for Spotify, then you expect no adverts. If you pay for Netflix, you expect no adverts. Pay for Amazon or Disney Plus or whatever, you expect no adverts. Now, when you don't pay for a TV channel, like, say, a terrestrial channel like ITV or Channel 4 or Channel 5, terrestrial TV channels, or most cable stations, to be fair, cable and satellite, you get adverts, right? The only channel really in this country you don't get adverts from is any of the BBC channels, and that's because that's paid for by the license fee, So in essence, you are kind of paying for it because you can't not have a license fee. Now, okay, there's going to be some people, I don't have a license fee, I don't give the lying BBC my money, I just don't watch BBC content, and I'm never opening the doors to the detector van people. They can whistle. All that aside, basically speaking, you pay a subscription, you don't get adverts, right? So that basically means, like, if you were to buy a DVD or a Blu-ray of a movie, you don't expect halfway through that movie to get bombarded by a bunch of adverts, do you? No. How much is a Blu-ray these days? What about, even for a brand new release, like, say you were to go out and buy a film that was in the movies just a wee while ago, like, say you go out and buy the new version of Dune, alright, and buy it on Blu-ray, you get a special edition, it costs you like, maybe 15 quid. Are you expecting adverts in the middle of that? Of course you're not! So why should we have to be having adverts plonked in our video games, like on billboards or on map screens or whatever? It's unacceptable, unwarranted, unnecessary, and it needs to get in the bin, this entire idea, before it even bears fruit. Because the fact of the matter is, if Microsoft get away with this, and they've tried it before, shall I draw your attention to Saints Row, NBA, Burnout? Oh yes. Some companies have tried to shove, adverts into games, and some of them have even been sneaky enough to try and put things into the games after they've come out, after the review period. Remember recently, I forget which Crash Bandicoot it was, but Crash Bandicoot came out, new game, and they put things into that game that the community did not like after the reviews had been done. Because, games can be updated now across the internet, and you can't play the older version of the game, so, or if you do, it won't work, and you probably can't play with your pals if it's an online title where it requires, mass player interaction. So you could be stuck with adverts in your video games that you can't skip, you can't get past, and no, there's no way in hell that I'll be buying a video game that's got ads in it. So if you have this in the games, then consumers like me will not buy those games. And then what happens? Those companies will lose money, and those developers, they'll lose their jobs, because there won't be people buying video games if they've got ads in them. And what's more, if you put ads in video games, it's not just adults like me who play video games. Kids play video games. And there are laws in place about what you can and cannot advertise towards children. Because children are more susceptible to advertising than adults, because children don't have the parts in the brain yet that take time to form by, chemically speaking, for impulse control. In fact, there are adults that have problems with impulse control, which is one of the reasons why loot boxes have been removed or drastically cut down in so many games, because it's gambling. I mean, even parliaments, politicians, most of which are, don't understand technology and certainly don't understand gaming, have understood enough that this is not good and is something that should not be there. Even they can understand that this isn't a thing. So, you don't want ads in your games? Of course you don't. They break immersion. They basically just get in the way. We look to games to escape the world. The last thing we need is the world coming into our video games and telling us to buy products. No! Of course you don't want that. Nobody wants that. Except obviously the admin and the games companies. Because the fact of the matter is, Microsoft gets away with this, Sony and Nintendo won't be far behind. So, you need to do a bunch of things, right? If you are serious about this, first thing you should definitely do, obviously, like and share this video. Get it out on social media far and wide. And I'm not saying that as some sort of, algorithm YouTube thing, or I'm a creator and I'm looking for engagement. No, I mean this as a message to these games companies that this idea had better go nowhere, because it will not stand and we do not accept it and we do not want it. We already have managed to get even companies as pig-headed as Ubisoft to realise that their NFTs need to not happen, to the point now where they've actually withdrawn on their NFTs. I mean, they'll probably try again in the future, but right now they have really stepped back from those NFTs, and that's a good thing. We have power when we come together, when the gamers form as one, regardless of platform, regardless of game type, regardless of religion, sex, creed or colour. When gamers get together and realise that as a collective unit we have bargaining power, because they rely on our money. If we're not there to buy their games and their companies do not exist. It's that simple. So first of all, share this video far and wide, spread this idea, show that this is something that we care about and that we do not want in our games. Then, obviously, share the idea itself on social media, tweet about it, Facebook about it, create TikToks, if you will, get your ads out our games, didn't even bother to start, whatever you want to say, right? And then, if it's looking like it's getting close to being, if there are more articles about it and it looks like something that's looming on the horizon, then write your MP, or write your congressperson, wherever you are in the world. Write your local politician, phone your local politician, email your local politician, tweet at your local politician, however you want to do it, but get in contact, right? Don't just sit in your bum and go, oh, somebody else will say something. No, you say something, and you say something, and you say something, to a point where we all say something, because the more they hear it, the more they can't ignore it. And if they can't ignore it, then that means they go, oh, voters care about something. If I want to get elected, I better listen to these voters. It's when they hear stuff en masse that they begin to care, because then that cuts into the money. Because if they don't get elected, then they can't get their bribes from their big business buddies. And if they don't get their bribes they don't get paid. And that's what the politicians want. They want to get paid. Because most politicians, as we've come to see on this world, are all corrupt. They're all as fake as a £3 note. There's a few noted exceptions, obviously, but by and large, a lot of politicians are money grubbing, lowest of the low. So hit them on the level where they'll hear us, where they'll see us. Share this video, make social media posts about this topic, and if that doesn't seem to be having an impact, get in touch by any means possible. Obviously, apart from like going up to them in the street and haranguing them about it, because that will only cause negative headlines about crazy gamers in the street hassling politicians. Contact them. Use measured language, but put it forward strongly that this is being proposed to happen, and we as voters, as gamers, as humans, as consumers, do not want this, do not accept it, and they'd better do something about it, or we'll vote for the other guy. You get where I'm going, guys? Okay? So let's band together. Let's make sure this doesn't happen. We have to stand together on this. No ads in our games. End of. Well, sorry that got a bit ranty, but I feel very strongly about this. Anyway, you know the drill by now, guys. Hashtag support Scottish YouTubers. And of course, as always, no bother.